So, today is the 22nd of May, so almost 2 weeks after the marathon. And the reason I'm only making this video this late is because I was sick for 10 days at least. I got back on Monday, right? So marathon was on Sunday, I got back on Monday, and I think I caught something on my way back. So Tuesday, got a pretty bad sore throat, and then 3 days later, sore throat went away, but I started having congestions. And the congestions lasted until probably yesterday, the day before yesterday. Still got a little bit, but it's getting better now. But man, last week was pretty painful in terms of just general living and breathing. It wasn't that comfortable. It wasn't that great. But now I'm feeling half human again. And I've been slowly getting back to running a bit. In terms of recovery, I think I'm now pretty recovered. Started gradually introducing running last week on Friday. Did some very short 6Ks, very easy pace. And this week I've been running every day since Tuesday. So I usually always take Mondays off, no matter what. So I took Monday off and been running every day till now. Today's Friday. Generally feeling very good. And yeah, right, so in the rest of the video I want to talk a bit about some lessons that I learned from Copenhagen Marathon. Talk a bit about the race itself, maybe the organization around the race, what I did differently, and basically just some personal reflections on the marathon. And also show you some of the things that you actually get from running the Copenhagen Marathon. I think I still have my medal here. Now, when it comes to the medal, it looks very nice. Like, I really like how it looks. It is a bit of a brushed, whatever this is, steel, aluminum. Very designed forward, just like Copenhagen as a whole. So pretty designed forward, looks pretty minimal. It's very nice, brushed metal or aluminum, whatever it is. And of course, forgot to engrave it or have it engraved again. I always forget it. But whatever. Really like the metal, looks very nice. So yeah. Then we have the bag, which I actually like more than other marathons. So in Barcelona, you get a bag that is made out of plastic, which broke like 2 weeks after the marathon. So it wasn't that useful, but this time around, this is just maybe cotton. Still smells a bit bad. It didn't smell too good when I first got it. Still isn't smelling too good. But I think that'll pass with time. So much for the bag. So that's the bag. Outside the bag, we also get the t-shirt, which is pretty nice. In the beginning I didn't really like the color, but it has since grown on me a bit. Used it for a run or two already. But I don't know how durable the printing on this will be, because this seems to be just printed on. We'll have to see. And then I also picked up this. This is a tote bag that I got from... If you watched my last video, you'll know that I went on Friday, on the day I arrived in Copenhagen. I went to have some seafood. And I saw that they were also selling this, which I think looks pretty cool. Looks fun. So I got it. It's a nice souvenir. On the back, just the name of the restaurant and Copenhagen. I think it looks cool. It's a decent souvenir. Yeah. Also got a water bottle. This you had to pay extra. This didn't come with it. This I got at the expo. I don't know, for 7 euros or 10 euros, something like that. It is very thin. Yeah, just a water bottle with Copenhagen Marathon on it, so that everyone knows I have ran the Copenhagen Marathon. Right, now let's talk about the race itself a bit. And here, I first of all want to talk about my pacing. At the beginning of the race, first few kilometers, went out and I immediately noticed that my heart rate was a bit higher than I wanted it to be at the paces I wanted to run. So I think when I did my pre-race video, when I talked about my strategy, I was talking about 418 or 419 per kilometer in the beginning, and I was aiming to maximally reach a BPM of maybe 168 or something like that, ideally below that. So I went out, immediately noticed that I was going out a bit too fast, so I had to adjust my paces down, which, if I'm looking at my heart rate data, probably went out still a bit too fast. As you can see on the screen, heart rate was constantly above 170. Pace wasn't there where I wanted it to be, so for the sub 3 of course, but I mean, it's a good pace, right? I never ran this fast, but still, probably a bit too high of a heart rate. But then it sort of normalized, I guess. It didn't drift. It was around the 170, 169 a bit later. So kilometer 15, 16, you know, that part. And even until kilometer 28, I was still hitting the paces with a decent heart rate, I would say. I didn't drift too much away from 170, so I didn't drift into 175 and so on. So personally, I think I raced this relatively conservatively, actually. And I felt pretty good at 32, 33. But then there was a problem at starting around 35, 36. I started noticing that my calves, right, they started twitching a bit. And from experience, so Barcelona, I completely cramped up. Had to really take a few minutes to stretch my hamstrings out. That was the hamstring that was cramping. But from that experience, I knew that if I were to push to failure, mechanical failure, so if they were to completely cramp up, I would lose a lot of time. So at this point, at 35 to 38, I had to really start slowing down, and I also had to adjust my stride. Now, normally I run on my forefoot, but at this point I had to adjust my stride in such a way that every time when I landed, right? So imagine, this is a bit difficult to explain, but imagine this is my foot, right? And I usually land like this, and then this is the motion. Do you get it? This is the motion. Normally, I just push off and then I land again. But this time around, I had to start to push off, and then I had to stretch my calves midway through the motion, through the stride, and then come back and land on the forefoot again. So what I was basically trying to do is to stretch my calves mid-air so that I didn't really have to stop and stretch them. But as things go, at kilometer 39, I completely cramped up. But not cramped up in such a way that I couldn't run anymore. I just had to take 1 or 2 minutes and slightly stretch them out, and then slowly ease back into it again. But at that point, lost 2-3 minutes, so still ended up with a 309, which is a new PB. I'm very proud, and I'm also very happy about the result, but it could have been a 306 or a 305. 305 to 307, I think, was realistic for me at that day. I think my fitness is about 422, so in terms of paces, 422 to 424, around that. If I didn't cramp, but it is a big if, right? Now, as to why I cramped, honestly, no idea. Perhaps I was not fit enough. Perhaps I should have brought some salt tablets with me, or some sodium tablets, whatever. Or perhaps I should have brought a flask with me to sip a bit, that is full of electrolytes, which I planned in the beginning, but unfortunately I forgot to bring the lid for my flask. So I have this flask from Solomon, I'll show you. So this is the flask. This is basically a very soft one. You can bend it, you can just hold it in your hands. And I brought this, right? This also has a small little latch that you can then put your thumb through it, kind of like, you get what I mean. You can basically pull it back and then you just fixate it here. Now it's a bit ass because there's no water in it, but you can basically have it in your hand, you don't have to hold it. Anyways, I brought this, but I forgot to bring the lid. If you can see it, this is the lid. Which, of course, defeats the purpose of bringing a flat if you don't have a lid. So I didn't take anything to drink with me and I just relied on the aid stations, which, you know how the aid stations go, you don't really get a lot of water because you are running and drinking the water and then it spills everywhere, and they also don't serve electrolytes, as far as I know. They only serve energy drinks or water or bananas or a gel. But none of it have electrolytes or sodium or salt in them. So I think that was my biggest problem this time around. I completely forgot about maybe taking some salt tablets with me. Yeah. Another thing I should also probably do for my next marathon is to practice a bit more in the race shoes. So I had an old pair of Alpha Flies, and I think I only did one training run with them because then they just wore out. Because the Alpha Flies aren't particularly durable. Had around 170 kilometers on those. So did the rest of my key sessions in the Vomero Plus, which have a bit of a different push-off or stride from the Alpha Flies. So what I'm going to do this time around for the next race is definitely practice a bit more in the race shoes, whatever those may be, but I still think I'll be using the Alpha Flies 3 next time around, because they really did pretty good work this time. Didn't get any blisters. Well, I got a small blister, but considering it was a marathon, it was a very good foot condition after the race, let's say. Had way worse. Bloody feet and all that. But this time around, really nice. I went a half size down on my Alpha Flies this time around. The first pair I bought in size 43, which were a bit too big. This time around I went down to 42.5. So they fit perfectly, and I'll probably race in them again. Unless something else comes out that is not 500 euros, like the new Adidas Evo, whatever they are called. The new ones where they broke the record. Unless something else comes out, I'll probably stick to those, do my training in those, and then get a fresh pair for the next marathon. Which I'll reveal in a second. Right, anything else? So when it comes to pacing for the next marathon, I think I'll keep the strategy the same. I'll aim for perhaps 170 plus minus, so in terms of heart rate, at whatever fitness I'll be in at the end of the year, which is my next marathon. Keep it there, because honestly I think I still had quite a bit in a tank for Copenhagen Marathon. But of course I cramped, so could never know if it is just dehydration or if it is actually that I went out too fast. So the only way to find out is to actually have some salt tablets next time around and run the 170 strategy and then see if I still cramp or not. If I don't cramp anymore, then I know that it was probably dehydration. But if I cramp, then I'll probably adjust for the marathon after the next marathon to start off still a bit slower. We'll have to see. As for nutrition, I actually had no problems at all with all the gels I was running. So I did one Morton 160 at Gun, slightly before Gun, then a 160 at 5:10, and then at 15 I did my caffeine, and at 20 I did a 160 again, 25 caffeine, and 30 and 35 160. Didn't notice anything, was pretty nice. At 35, the last gel was a bit disgusting, but that is what happens after 8 gels. Yeah, you can't do anything, it's just disgusting. So I'll keep that the same. Have to try to figure out the hydration part of it, as I said. So yeah, that is the marathon recap. Very happy with the result. 3:09:29. Very happy. Right, I think that is about it for the Copenhagen Marathon. Anything else that I've missed? Yeah, just a point on race organization. I think in general it is pretty well organized. It's just that the entrance and where you leave and enter the race area, it was pretty cramped. Had to stand there for 10 minutes just to get out. It was a bit ridiculous. Like, getting in was no problem, but getting out was a bit cramped for whatever reason. The entrance was just very narrow and everyone was funneled through it. So besides that, good race, really well organized, I think. Right, maybe the course wasn't that great. It was flat, yes, but there were really a lot of turns. So next marathon is probably going to be a bit faster because it has less turns. Which brings me to the next marathon. Race announcement. Next marathon will be the Amsterdam Marathon. And I'll be starting in the stadium. If you didn't know, Amsterdam has 2 starting areas. Not entirely sure how that's gonna work, but I'll be starting in the stadium. And yeah, it's going to be a very flat course. It's going to have less turns. And I will probably be gunning for the sub 3 this time around. I don't think I'm that far away from it. If I didn't cramp, right, but if I didn't cramp, probably was a 3:07 or 3:06 for the Copenhagen. So probably in that ballpark in terms of fitness, and to shave off like 8 minutes, I don't think it is too much of an ask. We'll have to see. But I also won't try to force it. If I find that I put a bit too much pressure on myself, then I'll just ease back and just have fun. Because at the end of the day, this is not my job. Running is something that I enjoy, and I don't really want to throw away the enjoyment by excessively optimizing every run or optimizing the program. So when it comes to the program, the marathon block, again, I won't be following any particular program. I'll just do basic base building, easy zone 2. Then perhaps I'll do an 18-week block this time around. First half, probably the first 6 to 8 weeks, just one faster workout, probably threshold run or some intervals, and then slowly build up the long run. And then after these 6 to 8 weeks of base building, I'll then start incorporating one threshold, perhaps one interval, and one key long run. But as with the last block, I'll put more emphasis on the key long run. I'll optimize for the key long run. If I feel too smashed to do the interval or the threshold session, then I'll just skip it. What matters is the long run and marathon specific work, I think. That's my humble opinion. And the block itself will begin mid-June, so the 18 weeks. And now, until mid-June, I'll just keep some maintenance volume, probably do maybe like 40, 45, 50, somewhere around that ballpark every week. No particular long runs, maybe a 10K or a 15K at most. But just keep running 5 to 6 times a week. It's a volume that I think I tolerate pretty good. And I'll also be doing a small diet. I won't be running a small deficit until then, just to tighten a bit up for summer. Because, yeah, you can always look good in summer, yeah? Why not? So I already started my diet, running a 300 to 500 calorie deficit. Going to do it for 4 weeks, then the block begins, and I'll get back to maintenance. And also been back in the gym yesterday. Been a while. Haven't been in the gym for like 2.5 months. And I already feel it in my lats. I did back and biceps yesterday. And later, it is now 12 o'clock, I'll be hitting the gym for chest and triceps. And tomorrow I'll be doing some legs. Going forward, probably going to do a push-pull leg split and then take one day off and then repeat. It's a pretty simple split. It is a split I enjoy, which is the most important thing. Don't have to optimize for anything. Just maintain my muscle mass. Yeah. And then when the block begins, probably going to reduce the frequency a bit for the first 6 to 8 weeks. And then when the marathon specific work begins, then I'll once again completely stop with the gym to give the body a bit more space to recover, to give the nervous system a bit more space to recover, and just optimize for the marathon, because that is what we are training for. We are not training for a bodybuilding show. So yeah, this will be it. Also, we'll be making some changes for the next training block. I've picked up a few new running shoes. Going to try something else this time around. I've ran in Nike almost exclusively, like last block. I ran through 2 Vomero Pluses. So I ran one, the first pair I finished 500 kilometers in, then I switched to the next pair, and currently I have around 360, I think. I'll probably hit the 400, then I'll retire them, but I'll make a separate video on my new shoe choices. If you follow my Instagram, you probably already know what one pair of those are. But if you don't follow my Instagram, you should follow my Instagram. And also follow my YouTube.